The stars near Earth were quiet, but the silence was not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that came before something big. Far beyond the blue glow of the planet, a thin, invisible line stretched across space. It was not a wall made of metal or stone. It was a border made of warning signals, satellites, and watchful eyes. Many in the galaxy knew about this border. It was called Earth's limit. Ships that came close would receive a message. The message was always the same: clear, calm, firm. Do not cross. This space is protected. Most listened. Some turned away quickly. Others watched from a safe distance. But not everyone believed the warning. Inside a large alien warship, deep in the cold dark of space, a group of commanders stood around a glowing map. The map showed Earth and the space around it. Small points of light marked human defense systems, but to the aliens they did not look very strong. General Roken stood at the center. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a voice that carried authority. He had won many battles across the galaxy. He did not believe in fear. He believed in power. They send warnings, Roken said, looking at the display. But they show no real strength. No large fleets. No visible weapons. Just signals. One of his officers nodded. Yes, General. Our scans show light defenses. Their ships are hidden, or perhaps they do not have many. Roken gave a small smile. Then they are trying to scare others away. It is a weak tactic. Another officer spoke carefully. There are reports from the Galactic Council. They say humans are different, unpredictable. Roken turned his head slowly. Different does not mean dangerous. The officer did not speak again. Far away on Earth, inside a deep underground command center, lights flashed softly across large screens. Humans watched the same border. They tracked every movement in space, every signal, every ship. Commander Jihun Park stood near the center of the room. He was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He had seen enough to know when trouble was coming. Unknown fleet approaching outer boundary, one officer said. Jihun looked at the screen. Dozens of ships moved together in a tight formation. Their size and shape showed clear military design. Identify, Jihun said. Alien Alliance Fleet, led by General Roken. There was a short silence in the room. Jihun nodded once. Send the standard warning. At another station, Hannah Kim sat quietly. She was a diplomat, not a soldier, but her role was just as important. She prepared the message carefully, even though it had been sent many times before. Her voice was calm as she spoke into the system. This is Earth Command. You are approaching a protected border. Do not move forward. Turn back immediately. This is your final warning. The message traveled across space, reaching the alien fleet within seconds. On Roken's ship, the message played through the command deck. The human voice sounded calm, almost gentle. Roken listened without emotion. When the message ended, he looked at his officers. That is all? He asked. Yes, General. Roken laughed quietly. They speak like they are strong, but they hide behind words. An officer hesitated. General, should we respond? Roken shook his head. No, we move forward. The fleet continued to advance. Back on Earth, the silence in the command room grew heavy. They are not slowing down, an officer said. Jihun watched carefully. Send the warning again. Hannah repeated the message. This time her voice carried a slight edge. This is Earth Command. You are crossing into restricted space. Turn back now. Any further movement will be seen as an act of war. The words were simple, but their meaning was clear. The alien fleet did not stop. Jihun closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. They have made their choice, he said. Hannah looked at him. One more message? Jihun nodded slowly. Yes, the final one. Hannah took a breath. This is Earth Command. You are now entering a protected zone. If you continue, we will respond. This is your last chance to leave. The message went out. On Roken's ship, the officers waited for his reaction. Roken stared at the display. The border line was now very close. Just a little more and they would cross it. They repeat themselves, he said. Again and again. They sound serious, General, one officer said quietly. Roken turned to him. Serious does not mean strong. He raised his hand. Continue forward. The fleet moved ahead. The moment they crossed the invisible line, something changed. First, nothing could be seen. Space still looked empty, quiet. But on Earth sensors, everything lit up. Boundary breach confirmed, an officer said. Jehun stood still. His face showed no anger, only focus. Mark all targets, he said. Across space, hidden systems came alive. Satellites that had seemed silent began to move. Dark shapes that had been invisible started to appear for a moment, then disappear again. The alien fleet did not notice right away. Inside their ships, everything seemed normal. Then one officer spoke. General, we are detecting signals. Many signals. Roken frowned. From where? All around us. The map began to change. Small points of light appeared, then more, then more. Roken stepped closer. These were not here before, he said. No, General. Another officer spoke, his voice tense. We are being scanned. In detail. Roken's expression hardened. So they show themselves now. Back on Earth, Jehun watched the same map. Phase 1 ready, an officer said. Jehun nodded. Hold position. Hannah looked at the screen, her hands tight. They still have time, she said softly. Jehun did not look away. Yes, but they will not use it. In space, the alien fleet slowed slightly, but it did not stop. Roken crossed his arms. They want to scare us, he said. Let them try. But even as he spoke, more signals appeared. The empty space around them was no longer empty. Something was there. Watching. Waiting. The silence returned, but now it felt different. Heavy. Sharp. Like a trap that had just been closed. And still, the alien fleet moved forward. Back on Earth, Jehun gave a quiet command. Prepare all units. The room moved quickly, but without panic. Every person knew their role. Hannah looked at the screen one last time. They ignored every warning, she said. Jehun nodded. Yes, he said. Now they will learn why we gave them. Far out in space, beyond the glowing blue world, the line had been crossed, and there was no going back. The moment the alien fleet crossed the border, space did not explode into fire. There was no sudden attack, no loud signal, no bright warning. Instead, there was silence. A deep and heavy silence that made even the most confident officers feel uneasy. Inside the alien flagship, General Roken stood still as he watched the changing map. More signals kept appearing around them. They were not random. They were organized, precise, controlled. Report, Roken said. We are detecting multiple objects, one officer replied. They were hidden before. Now they are active. How many? The officer hesitated. Too many to count quickly, General. Hundreds. Maybe more. Roken's eyes narrowed. And their positions? They surround us. A quiet tension spread across the command deck. Roken crossed his arms. So this is their plan. They hide, then try to trap us. Another officer spoke, his voice less steady. General, their signals are strong. Stronger than expected. Roken did not answer right away. He kept watching the map as more points of light appeared. The empty space they had entered was no longer empty at all. Back on Earth, the command center was alive with motion. Screens showed different angles of the same moment. The alien fleet was now deep inside the protected zone. Commander Jehun Park stood at the center, calm as always. All units in position, an officer said. Stealth systems active across the fleet, another added. Defense grid ready. Jehun nodded slowly. Maintain silence. No weapons fired. No messages were sent. Humanity did not rush. Hannah Kim stood beside Jehun. She looked at the large screen, watching the alien ships move slowly forward. They still do not understand, she said. Jehun replied quietly. They chose not to understand. In space, the alien fleet began to adjust formation. General, we recommend defensive posture, one officer said. Roken nodded. Do it. The ships moved into tighter groups. Energy shields activated, glowing faintly around each vessel. Weapons powered up, ready to fire. But still, nothing attacked them. Minutes passed. Each second felt longer than the last. "Why are they waiting?" one officer whispered. Roken finally spoke. "Because they want us to act first." "Should we fire?" Roken looked at the border line behind them, now far away. "No," he said. "We move deeper. If they planned a trap, we will break it." The fleet continued forward. At that same moment, deep in the darkness around them, human warships began to move. They were almost invisible. Their shapes were dark and smooth, designed to blend into space. Engines made little noise. Their systems were advanced, far beyond what the alien fleet had expected. Admiral Seojun Lee stood on the bridge of one of the largest human warships. His face was calm, but his eyes were focused. "All fleets ready," an officer said. Seojun nodded. "Wait for command." He looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was right where they wanted it. "Perfect position," he said softly. Back on Earth, Jihun watched everything. "Admiral Lee is in place," an officer reported. Jihun took a slow breath. "Good." Hannah turned to him. "Is there still time to stop this?" Jihun thought for a moment. Then he shook his head. "No, not anymore." He looked at the screen again. They crossed the line. They ignored every warning. Now we respond. In space, the alien fleet suddenly detected a change. "General," an officer shouted. "New signals. Fast movement." Roken stepped forward. "Show me." The map updated quickly. The points of light were no longer still. They were moving. Fast. Very fast. "They are closing in," the officer said. "How many?" "Too many. We cannot track all of them." For the first time, Roken's expression changed slightly. "Prepare all weapons," he ordered. Energy built up across the alien ships. Cannons aimed into the darkness. But the enemy was hard to see. Then, without warning, one alien ship lost power. "What happened?" Roken demanded. "No explosion," an officer said. "Systems shut down suddenly." Another ship went dark. Then another. Panic began to spread. "We are under attack." But from where? No clear target. The human fleet had begun its first move. Instead of direct attack, they used precision strikes. Small, fast weapons that hit key systems. Engines, shields, sensors. They did not destroy ships right away. They disabled them. Roken clenched his fists. "Find them." "We are trying, General. But they keep disappearing." Stealth technology made the human ships almost invisible between attacks. Back on Seojun Lee's warship, the crew moved with perfect timing. "Target locked," one officer said. "Fire." Another silent strike. Another alien ship lost control. Seojun watched calmly. "Do not rush. Break them slowly." His fleet followed the same pattern. Hit. Hide. Move. The alien fleet began to lose formation. "General, we are losing coordination. Shields failing on multiple ships. Communications unstable." Roken slammed his hand down. "Return fire. Fire in all directions." The alien ships opened fire into space. Bright beams of energy shot out in every direction. But most of them hit nothing. The enemy was not where they aimed. On Earth, Hannah watched the battle begin. Her face was tense. "It has started." Jihun nodded. "Yes." "Will it end quickly?" Jihun did not answer right away. "No," he said finally. "We want them to understand." In space, the alien fleet was now in chaos. More ships lost power. Some collided as they tried to move without proper control. "General, we cannot see them clearly." "Then predict their movement," Roken shouted. But prediction did not help. The human fleet moved in patterns that were hard to read. They changed direction often. They attacked from different angles. Then, for the first time, a human warship became visible. It appeared suddenly, right in front of one alien cruiser. Dark, large, silent. Before the alien ship could react, a powerful strike hit it directly. The cruiser exploded in a bright flash. "Direct attack confirmed," an officer shouted. Roken stared at the screen. "So, they finally show themselves." But the human ship disappeared again just as quickly. More strikes followed. This time stronger. More direct. The battle was no longer hidden. It was open war. Back on Seojen's ship, the admiral gave a new order. "All units, Phase 2. The human fleet changed tactics. Now they attacked in groups. Coordinated strikes hit multiple targets at once. Alien ships exploded one after another. Their shields could not hold. Their weapons could not lock on. Their formation was broken. Inside the alien flagship, alarms filled the air. "General, we are taking heavy losses. Multiple ships destroyed. We need to retreat." Roken stood still, his face hard. "No retreat," he said. "But, General, we are not running from this." He looked at the screen, watching his fleet fall apart. "They think we are weak now," he said. "We prove them wrong." He raised his hand. "All ships, focus fire. Find one target. Destroy it." The alien fleet tried to regroup. They aimed at one point in space where a human ship had appeared moments before. They fired together. A massive wave of energy shot forward. For a brief moment it looked like they might succeed. But the target was already gone. The attack hit empty space. And in the next second, 3 more alien ships were destroyed. The trap was complete. Back on Earth, Jehun watched in silence. "Enemy fleet losing strength rapidly," an officer reported. Jehun nodded. "Continue," he said. Hannah looked at the screen, her voice quiet. "They never had a chance." Jehun answered, "They had many chances. They ignored all of them." Far beyond Earth, the battle grew more intense. The alien fleet was no longer advancing. Now it was trying to survive. But the human fleet was everywhere, watching, striking, and slowly wiping them out. The battle did not slow down. It grew louder, brighter, and more dangerous with every passing minute. Space around the alien fleet was no longer dark. It flashed with light from weapons, broken shields, and burning ships. Inside the alien flagship, the command deck shook as another nearby cruiser exploded. "Report," General Roken shouted. "We have lost another line of ships," an officer said quickly. "Our left flank is collapsing." Roken looked at the display. The tight formation he had trusted was gone. His fleet was now scattered, broken into small groups that struggled to stay alive. "Regroup all units," he ordered. "We are trying, General, but communication is failing. Signals are blocked or cut." Roken clenched his jaw. Then switched to local command. "Every ship fights on its own." That order spread across the fleet, but it only made the chaos worse. Without strong coordination, each ship acted alone. Some fired wildly. Some tried to run. Some simply drifted after losing power. In the darkness, the human fleet watched all of this. Admiral Seojun Lee stood quietly as his officers tracked every movement. "Enemy formation fully broken," one officer said. "Good," Seojun replied. "Now we tighten the net." He raised his hand slightly. "All units, close distance. Do not let them escape." Human warships moved in smooth, silent lines. They were no longer just striking and disappearing. Now they stayed longer. They pressed closer. They controlled the space around the enemy. Each move was careful. Each attack had a purpose. Back on Earth, Commander Jehun Park watched the same change. "They are entering the final stage," he said. Hannah Kim stood beside him, her eyes fixed on the screen. "It is becoming one-sided," she said. Jehun nodded. "It has been one-sided since the moment they crossed the border." He paused for a moment, then added, "But now they feel it." In space, one alien destroyer tried to break away from the battle. "General, several ships are attempting retreat," an officer reported. Roken turned sharply. "Without orders?" "Yes, General." Roken's voice grew cold. "They will not escape." But even as he spoke, those ships moved at full speed, trying to reach open space. For a brief moment it looked like they might succeed. Then human ships appeared ahead of them. Dark shapes blocked their path. The alien ships fired immediately, but their attacks were rushed and unfocused. The human ships answered with clean, direct strikes. One by one, the escaping ships were destroyed. The message was clear. There was no way out. Inside the flagship, silence fell for a moment. "They predicted our movement," one officer said quietly. Roken stared at the display. His confidence was fading, but he did not show fear. "They are controlling the battlefield," he said. Another explosion lit up the screen. "General, we are losing too many ships." Roken finally made a new decision. "All remaining ships, focus on defense. Protect the flagship. We will break through one direction." The order spread quickly. Alien ships moved to form a protective ring around the flagship. Their shields overlapped, creating a stronger barrier. Weapons pointed outward, ready to fire at anything that came close. For the first time, the alien fleet stopped trying to attack. Now, it only tried to survive. On Seojin's ship, the change was clear. "They are forming a defensive shell," an officer said. Seojun nodded. "Expected. Orders." Seojun looked at the display for a few seconds. "Break it slowly," he said. "Do not rush. Target the outer ships first." Human ships spread out around the defensive ring. They attacked from different sides, never all at once. Each strike hit one ship, then another, then another. The outer layer of defense began to weaken. Alien ships tried to return fire, but the human ships kept moving. They stayed just outside the strongest range, then moved in quickly to strike weak points. It was like watching a hunter surround its prey. Inside the alien flagship, tension filled the air. Outer shield ships are falling. Energy levels dropping. Multiple breaches. Roken stood still, his mind working fast. "They are not attacking the center yet," he said. "No, General. They want us to lose strength first." Another officer spoke. "General, what if we send a message?" Roken looked at him. "What kind of message?" "A request to stop the attack. To negotiate." For a moment, no one spoke. Roken's eyes hardened. "We had that chance before," he said. "We ignored it." He turned back to the display. "We fight." Back on Earth, Hannah heard the same suggestion from one of the human analysts. "They may try to send a message soon," the analyst said. Hannah looked at Jihun. "If they do," Jihun answered calmly, "we listen. And stop." Jihun shook his head. "That depends on what they say." In space, the defensive ring continued to shrink. More alien ships were destroyed. The flagship was now clearly visible at the center. Large, powerful, but alone. Seojun watched closely. "Prepare main cannons," he said. "Yes, Admiral." Energy began to build inside the human warships. This was no longer small strikes. This was something bigger. Inside the alien flagship, alarms grew louder. "General, we are being targeted by multiple heavy weapons." Roken looked at the incoming data. "They are preparing a final attack," he said. "Shields at maximum," an officer shouted. The flagship's shield glowed brighter, stronger than before. Around it, the few remaining ships tried to hold their positions. But it was not enough. The first heavy strike came from above. A powerful beam hit one of the outer ships and cut it in half. The second strike came from the side. Another ship exploded. Then a third. The defensive ring was gone. Now only the flagship remained. Roken stood tall, even as the situation became hopeless. "All weapons forward," he ordered. "We aim for one target. If we fall, we take them with us." The flagship gathered its remaining power. A massive weapon at its front began to charge. On Seojin's ship, the warning appeared. "Enemy flagship charging main weapon." Seojun did not react with fear. "Disperse," he said calmly. Human ships moved apart quickly, breaking their formation. The alien weapon fired. A huge beam shot forward, cutting through space. It hit nothing. The human ships were already gone from that position. Seconds later, they returned fire. Multiple heavy strikes hit the flagship at once. The shield flickered, cracked, then broke. Inside the alien ship, lights failed. Systems shut down one by one. Shield failure. Hull damage critical. Power dropping. Roken held onto the command console as the ship shook. He looked at the screen one last time. The human ships were everywhere. Calm. Controlled. Unstoppable. They were never weak, he said quietly. No one answered. Outside, the human fleet prepared the final sequence. Back on Earth, Jehun watched in silence. Enemy flagship near collapse, an officer reported. Hannah stood still, her voice soft. It is almost over. Jehun nodded. Yes, he said. Almost. Far beyond Earth, in the cold dark of space, the battle reached its final moment. The alien fleet was gone. Only one ship remained, and it was about to fall. The alien flagship drifted in space, broken and burning. Small fires flashed across its surface, and pieces of metal slowly floated away into the dark. The powerful ship that once led a great fleet now stood alone. Inside, the command deck was filled with smoke and failing lights. Screens flickered, showing damaged systems and lost connections. General Roken stood in the center, holding onto a rail to keep his balance. Status, he said, his voice lower now. Shields are gone, one officer replied weakly. Weapons, almost offline. Engines, minimal power. We cannot move fast. Silence followed. For the first time, Roken did not give an order right away. He looked at the main screen. The human fleet surrounded them at a distance. They did not rush in. They did not fire again yet. They waited. They are watching us, one officer whispered. Roken nodded slowly. Yes, they want us to see this. Outside, human warships held perfect formation. They moved slowly, keeping space between each other. Their weapons were ready, but they did not fire. On Admiral Seojun Lee's ship, the bridge was calm. Enemy flagship disabled, an officer said. Seojun looked at the screen. Hold fire. Another officer turned to him. Admiral, we can end it now. Seojun shook his head. Not yet. He paused for a moment, then added, give them time. Back on Earth, Commander Jehun Park watched closely. They stopped firing, Hannah Kim said. Jehun nodded. This is the moment. Hannah looked at him. For what? For a choice, Jehun replied. Hannah understood. She moved to her station and prepared a new message. Her voice was calm, but strong. This is Earth Command. Your fleet has been destroyed. Your ship is surrounded. Power down all systems and surrender. This is your only chance. The message traveled across space and reached the alien flagship. Inside, the damaged speakers played the human voice clearly. The officers looked at Roken. One of them spoke slowly. General, we should accept. Another nodded. We cannot fight anymore. Roken closed his eyes for a short moment. When he opened them, his face was hard again. We are soldiers, he said. We do not surrender. But General. No. His voice was firm. We came here for victory. If we leave, it will not be in defeat. The officers fell silent. They knew what his words meant. Back on Earth, Hannah waited for a reply. None came. They are not responding, she said. Jehun looked at the screen. Then they have chosen their end. He turned slightly. Admiral Lee, proceed. In space, Seojun received the command. He nodded once. All units, prepare final strike. Human warships moved into new positions. They formed a wide circle around the alien flagship. Energy began to build again. This time it was not small or precise. This was the end. Inside the alien ship, alarms screamed loudly. General, they are charging weapons. Multiple targets locked on us. Roken stood tall, even as the ship shook around him. All remaining power to weapons, he ordered. General, that will leave us with no defense. We have no defense, Roken replied. The crew moved quickly, following his final command. The ship gathered its last energy. On Seojun's bridge, the moment arrived. Fire! Dozens of human warships released their attack at the same time. Bright beams and fast projectiles crossed space together. They hit the alien flagship from every side. The ship's surface broke apart instantly. The hull cracked. Fire burst out in every direction. Inside, systems failed one after another. Hull breach. Power gone. Life support failing. Roken held onto the console as everything around him collapsed. For a brief second, he looked forward. He saw the human fleet through the broken screen. Silent. Strong. Waiting. Then the final explosion came. The alien flagship broke into pieces of fire and metal. The light from the explosion spread across space, then slowly faded. And then, silence. The battle was over. No enemy ships remained. Only debris floated where a powerful fleet once stood. On Seogen's ship, no one spoke for a moment. "Confirm all targets destroyed," he said. "Confirmed," an officer replied. "No survivors detected." Seojun nodded slowly. "Hold position. Scan the area." The human fleet remained alert, but calm. Back on Earth, the command center was quiet. "Enemy fleet eliminated," an officer reported. Hannah looked down for a moment. "It is finished," she said. Jehun stood still, his eyes still on the screen. "Yes," he said. "It is finished." He did not smile. There was no celebration, only silence. After a few seconds, he spoke again. "Send a message." Hannah nodded and prepared the transmission. Her voice was steady. "This is Earth Command. Let this be clear to all who listen. We do not seek war, but we will defend our home. Our borders are not a challenge. They are a promise." The message was sent far beyond the battlefield, across nearby systems, toward the Galactic Council, toward anyone who might be watching. In space, the human fleet slowly began to move. Ships changed position, forming a protective line near the border once again. The invisible line remained the same, but now its meaning was stronger. No one could ignore it again. On Seogen's bridge, he looked at the quiet space where the battle had been. "Return to position," he said. "Yes, Admiral." The ships turned and moved back toward their hidden stations. Their mission was complete. Back on Earth, Jehun finally stepped away from the main screen. Hannah walked beside him. "They will remember this," she said. Jehun nodded. "Yes," he replied. "That was the point." He looked back once more at the distant stars. The war had been short, but its message would last a long time. Earth had spoken, and the galaxy had listened. The battlefield was silent after the last explosion faded. Where a large alien fleet had once moved with confidence, there was now only broken metal and drifting fire. Small pieces of ships floated slowly in the dark. Some still glowed with heat, but most were cold and lifeless. The human fleet did not celebrate. Their ships held position, moving slowly through the area, scanning, watching, making sure nothing remained that could become a threat. On Admiral Seojun Lee's ship, the bridge was calm and quiet. "Full scan complete," an officer said. "No active enemy signals." "Any escape pods?" Seojun asked. The officer checked again. "None detected. No life signs." Seojun gave a small nod. "Continue scanning. Be certain." "Yes, Admiral." The ships spread out across the battlefield. Each one used sensors to check the debris. They moved with care, not rushing, not missing anything. Some ships deployed small drones. The drones moved between broken pieces of metal, scanning for power, heat, or movement. They found nothing. The alien fleet was truly gone. Back on Earth, the command center remained quiet. Screens showed the empty battlefield from many angles. "Confirmation coming from all units," an officer said. "No survivors." Commander Jehun Park stood with his arms behind his back. "Maintain watch," he said. "Do not relax yet." Hannah Kim stood beside him. She looked at the screen, her expression serious. "They did not send any final message," she said. Jehun nodded. "No. They chose silence." Hannah looked down for a moment. "It did not have to end like this." Jehun answered in a calm voice. "They had many chances to stop. They refused all of them." He looked back at the stars. "This is the result." Far from Earth, beyond the battlefield, quiet signals began to move through space. Small, Fast messages carried news of what had happened. These signals reached nearby systems first. Then they spread farther, moving toward the central regions of the galaxy. At the heart of those regions stood the Galactic Council. Inside a large chamber, many different alien representatives sat in silence as new data arrived. Large screens showed the last moments of the battle. They watched as the human fleet moved with perfect control. They watched as the alien ships lost power. They watched as the flagship was destroyed. When the recording ended, the chamber remained quiet. One representative finally spoke. "The entire fleet gone?" "Yes," another replied. "No survivors." A third voice added, "And the humans did not chase beyond their border." This detail caused more silence. "They defended only their space," someone said. "And they warned before acting," another added. A low murmur spread across the chamber. "They were not the aggressors," one voice said. "No," another replied. But their response was overwhelming. The council began to understand something important. Humans were not weak. They were not careless. They were controlled, and very dangerous when pushed. Back on the battlefield, the human fleet continued its work. "Debris field mapped," an officer reported. "Salvage?" another asked. Seojun shook his head. "Negative. Leave it." "Admiral." Seojun looked at the screen. "Let it remain as a warning." The officer nodded. "Understood." The broken remains of the alien fleet would stay in that space. Anyone who passed by would see it. They would understand what had happened there. On Earth, Jihun received the same report. "Debris left in place," the officer said. Jihun gave a small nod. "Good." Hannah looked at him. "You want others to see it?" "Yes," Jihun replied. "Words are not always enough." Hannah did not argue. She knew he was right. A message appeared on one of the screens. "Incoming signal from Galactic Council," an officer said. Jihun turned his head. "Put it through." The signal opened. A representative of the council appeared on the screen. Its face showed no clear emotion, but its voice was careful. "Earth Command," it said. "We have received reports of the conflict." Jihun stepped forward slightly. "Yes," he said. "You have seen what happened." The representative paused for a moment. "We acknowledge that warnings were given before the engagement." Jihun nodded. "Multiple warnings. And the alien fleet ignored them." "Yes." The representative looked down briefly, then back up. "The council recognizes Earth's right to defend its borders." Hannah listened closely. "That is understood," she said. The representative continued. "We request that Earth share the limits of its territory clearly with all member systems." Jihun answered without delay. "That has already been done." There was another short pause. "Then we will ensure those limits are respected." Jihun said nothing for a moment. Then he spoke. "That would be wise." The signal ended. Hannah let out a slow breath. "They are afraid," she said quietly. Jihun did not deny it. "They are careful now," he said. Back in space, Seojun gave a new order. "All units, return to assigned positions." The human ships began to move away from the battlefield. One by one, they returned to their hidden stations near the border. Stealth systems activated again. The ships faded into the darkness. Soon, it looked as if nothing had ever been there. Only the debris remained. Only the silent warning. On Earth, the command center slowly returned to normal. Lights dimmed. Some screens turned off. Officers continued their work, but the tension was gone. Jihun stood near the main display, looking at the now empty space. Hannah walked up beside him. "It is quiet again," she said. Jihun nodded. "Yes," he replied. "For now." Hannah looked at him. "Do you think others will test us again?" Jihun thought for a moment. "Maybe," he said, "but not soon." He looked at the stars. "They have seen what happens." Hannah followed his gaze. "And if someone still does not listen?" she asked. Jihun answered calmly. "Then we remind them." Far away, the broken remains of the alien fleet drifted in silence. No voices, No signals. No movement. Just a quiet message written in metal and fire. A message that would travel farther than any words. Earth had drawn a line, and now the galaxy understood what it meant. Time passed, but the silence around Earth did not feel the same anymore. It was no longer the silence of something unknown. It was the silence of something understood. The broken remains of the alien fleet still floated far from Earth's borders. Ships from different parts of the galaxy passed by that region, but none came close. They slowed down when they saw the debris. They scanned it from a distance. Then they moved away quietly. No one wanted to make the same mistake again. On Earth, life continued as normal on the surface. Cities moved, people worked, and the planet looked peaceful. But deep below, inside the command center, nothing was left to chance. Commander Jihun Park stood in front of a large display. The same border lines still surrounded Earth. It had not changed, but now it carried a stronger meaning. "Status report," he said. "All sectors clear," an officer replied. "No unknown ships near the boundary." Jihun nodded. "Maintain full watch." "Yes, Commander." Hannah Kim walked into the room, holding a small data tablet. "There are more messages from the Council," she said. Jihun looked at her. "What do they want now?" Hannah gave a small, calm smile. "Peace, cooperation, and clear agreements." Jihun was silent for a moment. "They want to be sure," he said. "Yes," Hannah replied. "They want to understand us better." Jihun turned back to the screen. They had time to understand before. Hannah stepped closer. Now they are ready to listen. Jihun did not argue. He knew she was right. Far away, in the central regions of the galaxy, the Galactic Council had changed its tone. Meetings were more serious now. Reports about Earth were studied carefully. One large screen in the council chamber showed a simple image: the border around Earth and the destroyed fleet. "This event has changed the balance," one representative said. Another nodded. "Humans are no longer an unknown force. They are a major power." A third voice added, "And they do not expand without reason." "That may be the most important part," someone else said. "They defend, but they do not attack first." The council members agreed on one thing: Earth's borders would be respected. No fleet would be sent there without clear permission. Back near Earth, hidden human warships remained in position. Their systems were active but silent. They watched every direction, every signal, every movement. Admiral Seo-jun Lee stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the stars. "Any changes?" he asked. "None, Admiral," an officer replied. "All systems stable. No threats detected." Seo-jun nodded, but he did not relax. "Continue patrol patterns," he said. "Stay ready." "Yes, Admiral." The fleet followed his orders. Ships moved slowly in careful paths, always watching, always ready to respond. On Earth, Hannah sat at her station, reading the latest council message. "They want to open a shared communication line," she said. Jihun looked at her. "For what purpose?" "To prevent future conflict," she replied, "and to build trust." Jihun thought for a moment. "Do you trust them?" he asked. Hannah answered honestly. "Not fully." Jihun gave a small nod. "Neither do I." He looked at the screen again. "But we can listen." Hannah smiled slightly. "That is enough for now." Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. No new fleets came near Earth's border. Trade routes adjusted to avoid the protected zone. Ships that passed nearby always sent signals first, asking for permission even to observe from a distance. Earth responded calmly, giving clear instructions. The message was always the same: respect the border, keep your distance, and there will be no problem. Far across the galaxy, stories about the battle spread. Some told it as a warning. Some told it with fear. Others told it with respect. But all of them agreed on one thing: humans were not weak. They were not easy to understand. And they should not be challenged without reason. Back on Earth, Jihun stood alone for a moment, looking at the stars. The command center was quiet. Most of the staff had finished their shifts. Hannah walked in slowly. "You are still here," she said. Jehun gave a small smile. "Just thinking." "About the war?" she asked. "Yes," he replied. "And what comes next?" Hannah stood beside him. "We showed them who we are," she said. Jehun nodded. "Yes. Do you think that is enough?" Jehun looked at the distant stars. "It will have to be," he said. "We cannot fight everyone." Hannah agreed. "We should not have to." Jehun crossed his arms. "We will defend," he said. "But we will also speak." Hannah looked at him. "Balance." "Yes," Jehun replied. In space, the invisible border around Earth remained in place. It did not glow. It did not move. But now it carried a story. A story written in silence, in fire, and in loss. A story that no one would forget. Far away, a small ship passed near the edge of the protected zone. It slowed down and sent a signal. "Requesting safe passage at a distance," the message said. On Earth, the signal was received. "Approved," Hannah said calmly. "Maintain distance." The ship changed its path immediately, keeping far from the border. There was no fear in its movement, only respect. Jehun watched this simple moment. This was what they wanted. Not war, understanding. But understanding had a cost. He looked at the stars one last time before turning away. "The line is clear now," he said quietly. Hannah nodded. "Yes," she replied. "And no one will cross it again." The stars remained silent. But the message had already been heard across the galaxy. Earth had drawn its border. And this time everyone listened.